Hello and welcome back to the Origin Summer Preview 2015. I'm Eric Summer here with Jim Dietz from Jolly Roger Games, and we're looking at one of your brand new games, Cthulhu's Vault. Tell us about it.
Cthulhu's Vault is a design I came up with Richard Lanius.
Okay.
And we wanted a Cthulhu game where it could attract people that aren't normal gamers, not role players, not necessarily board gamers, something that non-gamers could play that like to tell stories.
Yeah.
So the objective of the game is to tell a good story, and then at the end you get to fight it out and try and kill the big bad guy.
Okay.
The game is pretty simple. It winds up that each player winds up getting a monster at random. Okay. In this case, I selected two of the known ones for gamers, Hastur and Cthulhu.
Yep.
When the big bad guy comes out, I should call it the great old one, I know.
Oh, all right.
They have special powers. So that when you get to the climactic battle with Hastur, if any of the gamers name him, they take a D6 worth of wounds immediately because you're never supposed to say his name. So the person with him can try and taunt them into saying it.
Into saying it, okay.
So the game winds up starting with the decks dealt and a card picked at random placed between all the players.
Okay.
And it's decided somebody starts the game from that. In this case, it's an old man. Our story could start, an old man walked into Miskatonic University's admissions office, but it turned out he wasn't an old man, he was 19 years old. It then goes from whoever started that to the next person. Let's see, that's over here, this is my hand. I've got 7 cards. I could sit there and take Asylum and say, nobody really believed he was 18 years old. They assumed he was yet another crazy person released from Miskatonic Asylum. And I play this down.
Okay.
Now there are a couple things. When I play a card and it fits the story, on the card itself, it has symbols. So with Asylum, I can turn in one of the cultist tokens from the pool, and there's a big pool of the tokens, for 2 random ones, where it could be either cultist or investigator tokens. If, there's a little symbol here, if I had followed, in this case, an old man with the same symbol here, I get a bonus. I get 2 extra random tokens.
Okay.
The difference between this and other storytelling games is that the other storytelling games are all about race to play through all your cards. That doesn't happen here. I play 1 card, and now it's your turn to build off of what's been done.
Okay.
So we just have Old Man and Asylum. Now, I've got some tokens here. Depending on the number of players, that affects when the big bad guy appears. So, in this case, with like 3 players, as soon as somebody accumulates 10 cultist points, they would sit there and go, I've got 10 cultist points, Cthulhu's the bad guy.
And so whoever has the most points, or whoever triggers that, that's the bad guy.
Correct, and then your bad guy would be discarded, and we're all fighting Cthulhu.
Okay.
At that point, we get rid of all the cards that we've told our story with, and we have battle cards. And depending on who the investigator is, that affects how many cards they have on the investigators and their powers. Some have more cards, some have special powers. So that we're then dealt those cards. And the cards do different things. This is a 22 pistol. It does 1 wound if you roll an even number.
Okay.
Dynamite, roll 3 dice. For every 4, 5, or 6, you do a wound to the great old one. Some allow for spell casting and other higher damage things to the big bad guy.
Okay.
On the big bad guy deck, they have a similar deck, but in this case it's Cthulhu. They have a special power at the bottom based on who the big bad guy is. So if you draw Hastur, I can't use that special power, but here it's Cthulhu, so multiple tentacles. The attack does 2 damage to every investigator, not just to 1. At the end, either the big bad guy dies or all the investigators die.
But at least you told a good story.
Indeed, and that's the big thing. And I knew it was a good game when I played it with my wife, and she said, you know, I don't know any Cthulhu, but this was a lot of fun. And liked telling the story. And our story, the first one she played, and my wife's not a gamer, I love her, but she's not a gamer, was we started off in Boston down by the shore, and it turned out somebody drew the airplane card, so we wound up flying to France.
Okay.
Because the writing was French on it, The French turned out the next card played was a swamp, so it wasn't actually French. Our time there was wasted. It turned out it was from the Bayou of New Orleans in 1500, which was perfect because then somebody had a graveyard card, and it turned out that it was in the graveyards of France with a ritual sacrifice. And then it wound up being Cthulhu that appeared, and everybody died, and that was the end of it. But it was a great story, and it only took 30 to 45 minutes to play with one gamer and two non-gamers. And everybody enjoyed it to play again. And I think that's a great thing with games. If we can suck as a hobby, if we can get people in, that was cool, what else is there? That would be great.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing, since Dice Tower reaches a lot of gamers, is that you don't need to know Cthulhu to be able to play this game. None of the monsters require any of that knowledge. When you're telling your story, you can just riff off of the appearance on the card and the artwork that was done.
So how soon can we get this in our hands?
It is on a train heading to Chicago and for customs right now.
Okay.
It is cleared Long Beach. I am told that it should be in my possession June 19th, so that it should be in stores by the middle of July at the latest.
Okay, sounds good. Cthulhu Wars, Jim Dietz, thank you very much for spending some time with us. Cthulhu Vault. Cthulhu Vault by Gum. Jolly Roger Games, thank you very much. Thank you for watching.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com.